Hey buddies, I want to give you a or I guess myself, kind of like a debrief about the whole situation from last week, about a week ago today, in which I woke up to go to a baseball game and found out on my way close to out the door that we were in danger of receiving a copyright strike from the composer of a game called Star Mazer DSP that we'd played about a year ago. Because the composer was going on a DMCA rampage, taking down videos because of a contract dispute with the developer. She decided that it was the best course of action to blackmail YouTubers into helping her fight the developer by issuing copyright strikes that would only be removed if the YouTubers joined her in her fight to pressure Imagos Software to, I guess, come to an agreement that favored her. As far as the contract goes, it is messy. Who knows what... I mean, it's starting to come to light. I mean, it kind of came to light that Imagos did not seem to be in the wrong, and that they had made many good faith attempts to try to make things right with her, and she was just inconsolable or not to be reasoned with. And we have a little bit more information, I guess, or reason behind that. We found out now that once the amazing Leonard French on YouTube, a copyright attorney that runs a really great channel, which I guess if there's a silver lining about this whole thing, I found out about Leonard French, which I didn't before. More on why I didn't know about him later. No, I'll just tell you right now. This shit exhausts me. And I can't believe the work that... Okay, let me get back to the topic. I'm going to go back to that. But, so they basically started a GoFundMe campaign to stop Alex from doing what she was doing, which was wrong and bullying and ridiculous, and somehow aided by the current system of YouTube as it is, which I've talked about at length and is kind of the reason why I'm making this vlog today. So they start a GoFundMe campaign, and they actually levy against her some legal proceedings, which will start the slow process towards her stopping her course of action, issuing flagrant DMCA, and hopefully getting to a point where the crippled Imagos Software can get back to business because of the amount that they've spent time and money trying to make things right with Alex. And I guess somewhere, I don't know the exact details, but somewhere along the line, they were able to get Alex help only when she made the ultimate cry for help, which wasn't actually, I suppose you usually associate that with a threat to kill yourself. She began to threaten to kill other people in a very specific and literal way, including Leonard French, the attorney, and including the YouTubers like Sid Alpha, that had, and I think Jim Sterling and Total Biscuit, who had helped and aided and broke the story, Sid Alpha having broken the story. This is a long TLDR, but I just caught up with it, and once again, getting back to that, this shit exhausts me. Who the fuck has time for this type of stuff? And yet, who has the choice when they're hit with something like this? I thankfully avoided such a situation where I didn't even have to fight a copyright strike, because once I found out that this was happening, I went ahead and just deleted the video. I don't want to have to deal with it. And I know that I could go about it in a way that I could go about it and out of principle and out of practice fight a copyright strike, which to date I haven't had to do, thank God, because just the thought of it just makes me want to get in bed and curl up and go to sleep. Like, I hate bureaucracy. Litigation sounds not only scary, but a waste of time and life to me, unless it's your occupation, which, again, Leonard French, thank you for the great work you do and the advice that you give on your YouTube channel. And so I avoided any kind of copyright strike, thankfully, and by deleting the video. And yet, it's funny because I didn't even know until afterwards, once Sid Alpha had published. This is a really rambling, and it's so, like, I could have made a fucking bunch of notes before I did this to give this to you in a concise way where I didn't ramble, but this is what I ended up having to do because the information's all jumbled up because these situations get so ridiculous and jumbled up and hard to track. And by the way, where was the fucking blog media on this? Where where is the so-called games journalism right now on this issue that affects the community and YouTubers? Thank God for the message amplification by Total Biscuit and Jim Sterling about this. Sid Alpha, being the one who broke it, was actually kind of a smaller channel, same as Leonard French, and yet the big guys were able to, and also Total Biscuit aided YouTubers in getting things fixed and stuff. Those guys are amazing champions for the cause of YouTubers and video games in general, because Let's Players, video games media, creators are an important part of the community and the culture that surrounds video games, and it has, as it has been demonstrated. And going back to another point that I never made on my original vlog, I'm getting more excited as I go because I'm gaining momentum. But one thing I didn't mention was Alex at one point disparaged people, disparaged the usefulness and the legitimacy of our jobs as YouTubers in the video game sphere. At the same time, ironically, as aiding their help and acknowledging the power that they wield by trying to blackmail them and extort them onto her side of her legal battles. Which is like, so on one hand, she was acknowledging that we hold power and sway and influence, and at the other side saying that we don't do a legitimate job and don't deserve the money that we get. Anyways, clearly, she was a disturbed individual. I'm really late to like reporting. I'm not reporting on this. I'm just giving a debrief for myself and I guess for you to summarize. But she was disturbed. She was lacking in fundamental logic of a sound mind because she was going about trying to snipe channels. Ours was included in a list of channels, and that's what I was going to say earlier. It was a good thing I deleted my video because I was in the list of channels that she was going to take down. And she was asking for advice, or rather almost acting as though Temi Neko, one of the original channels that brought it to Sid Alpha's attention, who had received one of the first copyright strikes. Temi Neko had played, I forget which exact, I think Temi Neko had posted some music, her exact music, was actually in correspondence, and Alex Maurer was asking for advice or like working with her, like saying, here's the list of channels, here's the ones marked with the X's are the ones that I've been able to get taken down, which by the way, ours is marked with an X, meaning she thought that she'd taken ours down when I actually just deleted it ahead of time. But she was actually working with this person that she'd issued a copyright strike to, acting as though she was on her side. I'm assuming Temi Neko's a girl, I don't know why. But like, just like from that moment onward, I think Sid Alpha made a very clear point that something seems up here, and clearly it was, because in the end, I don't know the exact details, Leonard French did a vlog where he got kind of emotional about it, because he was personally attacked, but he was able, with the help of some people that he doesn't mention, to get her help. She's now in custody, apparently, and hopefully going to make a road to recovery where she lives in a... where she can't hurt herself or others, if that was a very real prospect. No one can really say she made threats, but that she'll be able to coexist with the world after this in a way that doesn't hurt people physically, but at the same time also doesn't attack people's livelihoods. And let's talk about how somebody who is that unstable in the YouTube current climate, the climate that's existed since day one, or since basically YouTube started and Google started to try to protect #1 and see no evil, hear no evil, and when it came to the copywritten content that was being uploaded to its website, was that it will always shoot first, side with the claimant, and never ask questions and leave it to you to figure out. And that somebody so unstable as Alex Maurer can go ahead and just issue flagrant, spurious copyright claims across the board, DMC takedown notices, and YouTube just abides. And despite having those reversed with proper documentation from Imago Software and Total Biscuit's contacts being able to accelerate the process with people in YouTube, I suppose. Like, you know, I'm saying as an organization, there are good people in YouTube. I've had experience with it who want to do right, but their policies as a machine just make it so that even though they were reversing constant strikes from Alex Maurer, she was continuing to make more, and that you don't, like, after a few flagrant, like, frivolous ones, there's no, like, trip mechanism in place that like prevents you from making more, that there's nothing that says like you know, it's funny because YouTubers have a 3-strike copyright strike, 3-strike system, 3 strikes, and you're just assumed to be incapable of uploading proper content that is free of copyright and content created by others, infringement. And yet the claimant is always taken the benefit of the doubt that if she issues 20 and they all get reversed because they were bogus, it's never said like 3 strikes, you issued 3 DMCAs. How about we apply that system? You issued 3 fucking DMCAs and they were fucking bullshit. You lose your ability to issue DMCAs. We're no longer going to fuck over channels across the board that like who will get taken down if they receive 3 strikes. It's one more reason, I guess, it's a good thing that we now don't split our videos into segments as much anymore, like, you know, 10 parts for like a 3-hour show, because in the case of this type of game, if she had like ended up getting us, if I had gone to that baseball game and she had issued the copyright strikes, I could have come back to a channel that didn't exist anymore. At least until I was able to get the strikes reversed. I could have been out of business for a few days. And then that's money out of your pocket, plus the fucking heart attack it would give you. This is just a rant. This is just me trying to express to you the feeling or like the anxiety that you have day to day as a business owner and a YouTuber. It's not fun always feeling as though there's Damocles has got his fucking axe over your head. It sucks knowing that somebody so unstable and wrong-headed can go out and cause such damage. Imagine a world where I can affect your job, anybody's job, by calling your place of work and saying, he stole office supplies, he took a computer, I know it, he took it home. And that you can just, like, your employer's going to be like, well, the stranger says, and I'm just going to, until we get to the bottom of this, I want you to go home without pay. Imagine that type of world. Like, people... And I saw that in the comments when I made my original vlog. Of course, I knew going into it there were going to be those detractors who always just seem to like be there specifically to just twist a knife anytime a YouTuber has troubles and being like, well, you shouldn't be doing this as a job anyways, get a real fucking job. That type of attitude is ridiculous. You don't know the work that goes in and the hardship that goes into starting a business, whether it be a YouTube channel or otherwise, the amount of time that you have to invest before you even start to make penny one. 10 years we've been doing this, and now only just recently do we feel comfortable. Again, I'm just trying to impart to you just my feelings, my thoughts, and this is the debrief, I guess, on the whole situation. It seems to have come to sort of it's slowed down since now she is in custody. What that means, I'm not sure. Whether it's like, I guess with death threats, it comes with actual legal custody, and hopefully from there it will turn into some sort of medical custody or something, or medical counseling of some sort. But Leonard French is rightfully going ahead with his litigation, which is basically, I guess he's filing complaints with the state, in which, I don't know whether it's where Imagos is or whether it's where Alex is, or maybe that's the same place, but I don't know how the process works. Once again, this exhausts me. I'm glad there are amazing heroes out there that can take care of this type of stuff. But he will be going forth with this to take it to its proper end, to exercise the rights that we have within fair use, within the law, to do our jobs as disseminators of video game media promotion and review and commentary and parody. All of them. Let's do them without people doing frivolous, ridiculous wastes of life and time, litigation, threats, DMCA takedowns, bureaucracy. Makes me sick to my stomach. Can I just do my job? And thankfully, and again, like stuff like finding out like the Total Biscuit, rather Jim Sterling was sued for $10 million by a developer for fucking libel. Why would I ever want to become a bigger channel than I currently am? I'm just big enough where I feel safe that if something happens to our channel, I'll be able to get like some people's attention. And I feel really bad for the little channels that got slammed with these copyright strikes, who are just starting out and getting the ball rolling and starting to get their first few thousand subscribers, who got hit with this stuff, who are like, if I go out, get wiped off the face of the planet tomorrow, who's going to care type of feeling. That's how I felt when I was a smaller channel. But like, to think that when you're that big, when you're like Jim Sterling, that you can get hit with a $10 million lawsuit from a fucking shitheel developer who thinks that you can just bully your way through the legal system and through life. That's what these people are. They're bullies. Oh, and that's the other point. Remember how careful I was with my words when I was talking? Because it was the first vlog I'd made where I'd called out an individual, not a company, for their actions and what they were doing and their practices. I was so worried that I would, because of this climate on YouTube right now, that if you ever criticize somebody, you know, that's bullying and harassment. And Alex Maurer played that card. Went ahead and went to YouTube to try to get Sid Alpha's channel taken down for bullying and harassment, saying that he was transphobic because Alex Maurer's a transgender female. I knew that going into my vlog and was actually more fearful than I would have been if she had not been. And that's wrong too. I didn't mention anything about it, and yet I still felt like I was at a bit more risk because of it. And it's just the climate of YouTube where it feels like everybody is, if they ever feel like they're on the defensive, if they're on their heels, on the back step, that they can just play the card that says, I'm being bullying and harassed, and shut it all down. And I'll acknowledge bullying and harassment absolutely exists on the internet. It's fucking terrifying what can happen, especially when an issue like this starts and people start with death threats, which no doubt Alex received. It happens every time anybody has any issue to do with anything. Is once you're in the media, once you have made any kind of get involved in any kind of story, you get death threats. You get trolls who will make a name, and if you've seen the South Park episode, will sip their wine as they watch the reaction of people of the horrible things they say. Sorry for the jump cut. I just ran out of space on the memory card, so I swapped it out. I don't think that 99.99999% of threats issued on the internet are ever real physical threats that are actually would be potentially carried out by somebody who is issuing them. I think it's almost always for a reaction. It doesn't make it any less chilling to the person who receives them. But that said, this happens all the time. No doubt everybody involved, including Leonard French, received death threats, received threats in some shape or form. Even the people who, Temi Neko was originally in the Total Biscuit video, or I mean, I think it was Jim Sterling, one of the two, was mistaken as being Alex Maurer, and so received death threats because the fucking idiots thought that this is the person that we should harass right now. This is the one that the mob should go after. It's fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. It's exhausting. It's a waste of time and life. And I wish all of it would just fucking stop and people stop being fucking idiots about everything. And this is the world I live in. I feel like I'm always in this enraging middle ground where I just don't want to get involved because I hear shit from right and left that I don't agree with. And it seems like the loudest voices, the most polar extremes of both sides, whether it be any political spectrum, philosophical, doesn't matter. The idiot side versus the rational side, it doesn't matter. It's just always like the loudest and stupidest, most outrageous voices always get the most play and airtime. And I'm actually, you know, again, going back to why there was no blog coverage on this, no games journalism press coverage on this, I don't understand. There was no medium keel voice besides Jim Sterling, Total Biscuit, and Leonard French, and Sid Alpha. There were no people covering this in a sort of like point-by-point, blow-by-blow way. You had to go with hearsay and he said, she said, unless you followed these YouTubers' sort of dissemination of it. They're sort of like rehashing of the facts, and like it was very much organic and kind of like as it came in reporting. But they're not reporters, they're not journalists. These guys are just commentators, they're editorialists. The journalists were nowhere to be found on this issue, and they often, I've been so very disappointed anytime they cover anything to do with YouTubers and the business of being a YouTuber, video game commentators and things like that, they seem to always have very, maybe that's why they don't go near this, I don't know, like they seem to have so limited and sort of like superficial knowledge of what it's like to be in this business. And they, anytime they talk about, like, you know, the whole Nintendo copyright controversy, they get so many things wrong about the simple process in the background of what it's like to receive a content ID versus a copyright strike versus, like, the whole, like, to date, I'm still angry at most of the blog media who reported that Nintendo is no longer issuing content ID claims on anybody because Peanut Butter Gamer told us he's not getting any on his anymore. So they basically acted as though it's not happening anymore, despite my, like, calling them out and telling them, no, that's just because they've decided to stop giving them to him because he's the only one you guys are covering. And so most of gamers fucking ended up thinking that was the truth. They're like, I heard Nintendo's not doing it anymore. It's like, for a fucking year. It took like another year before people finally got it through their heads that Nintendo had kept on issuing them ever since that date. But if you'd only read the blog coverage, the games journalism coverage, you wouldn't know. You would think that it just ended that day. Rant. It's so exhausting. I just want to play video games. But I just want to say one more thank you, I guess, to Alex Maurer. Thank you to not to Alex Maurer, rather, to Leonard French, and to the Twitter followers who sent me the tip so that I was able to not get myself caught in this quagmire. So I could delete the video, and I can't wait to put that video back up. It will go back up eventually. I'll maybe put it back up, put it on Vimeo so people can watch in the meantime, the Star Mazer video. And Sid Alpha for covering it so comprehensively, Total Biscuit for helping all those YouTubers who were affected, and Jim Sterling for amplifying the message and also sort of rehashing the whole story, the fucked up tale. Again, troubled individual, hope they get help. And once again, the story here, to me, isn't so much about Alex Maurer as it is about the damage that such a person was able to cause. And that YouTube allows it and continues to not really defend or care about its creators in any substantial, tangible way when it comes to anything that could copyright related, which is them covering their own ass because they never want to be sued. They never want to be the target of the lawsuit. They would rather always look like they're on the side of the claimant, regardless of the validity of their claims. Fun times. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.